Welcome back to building the footer. Let's write some more CSS to format our footer. So here we are again. As I said before, we want to of course have these links side by side, and we want to get rid of these bullet points, and we want to format the whole thing. And we also want a very dark background for this footer in order to make it kind of stand out. So let's go to our CSS. And the things we're going to do are actually quite easy to do. It's just to repeat some things we already did before. So to start, let's make a darker background color here. So of course not black, but we want it kind of deep. And I like to use this color. Actually, let's just check this. Okay, this makes a great contrast between this white and this gray. And now I will make the text like white or a very light gray. But first let's format those navigations. So we have footer nav, and we want it to have no bullet points as always, and we want this one to float on the left side inside of its container. And then we have the social icons, and we also want no bullet points, and this one we want to float all the way to the right side. And now the list elements inside of these navigations, of these unordered lists, we want to have them side by side. And so one thing that we can do is to display them as inline blocks, and this way they will not cause a line break, so they will be side by side, and we can also assign them some margin. So what we can do here is footer nav li, and we can actually do the same thing for the social icons, because we want him to behave in the same way. So we use our very much used property display and inline block, and then we can set a nice margin to the right side of each of them in order to give them some spacing. So margin right, let's say 20 pixels. Okay, let's check this. Okay, they are already side by side, at least these ones. There must be something wrong with this here. So let me check what's happening here. Maybe it's not the right name. Oh, alright, it's social links here. Of course, it's not social icons. So social links and social links. And now these are side by side as well. Now there's only one tiny problem left with these li elements, and let me show you what I'm talking about. And for that I will use inspect elements. So you will see again how useful this is. So where do we have our footer? Okay, it's right here. And so with the blue highlighting you see the row class. And so you can see that here we have some space between the last icon and the end of the row, right? So the icon is not all the way to the right side of the row. And that's because of the margin right we defined of 20 pixels. So what we need to do is to get rid of that for the last li element. So let's do that. And as you know, the connection between brackets and the browser was lost because we did that. So let's go back here. And now what we do is, of course, such as we did it before, we use the last child pseudo class. So last child and last child. And then we say we want margin 0. I mean, we can say margin right, but it's actually the same thing. So you see that now this is better, and I will inspect it again actually, so to prove you that this worked. Okay, right. This is better now. So then let's now format this text here, these links. And you see we have to get rid of this text in the HTML. It's down here still. Okay, so these are links, and so I hope that you can do this on your own by now. So footer, nav, li, and then the links inside of it. And I will use the link state, and then footer, nav, li, a visited. And we want this to happen as well for the social links. So, all right. So we want, of course, no text decoration, so no underlining. And we also want no border, because if you remember, we defined that those links should have a border. We defined it all the way up here. So all the usual links have this border. So we just get rid of this. And as I said, I also want a nice text color for them, because that orange really doesn't look great. So I will start with white and then use the color picker to go with something else. So we want something a little bit dark. Okay, this color looks good. I really like those colors where we only need those 3 digits. And up here it's of course visited and not visited or whatever that is. And I think now we should be good to check this. And alright, this looks a little dark, but it's on purpose, because I will then, with the hover effect, make the color look lighter, because we don't want to stand this out too much. And so this is good. And we will now add some hover effect to these links here. So let's do that. So footer, nav, li, I, and hover. And of course active. So what we want to change is the color, not to white, but something like that. Let's say this one. And we want of course to have a transition there for the color property with 0.2 seconds interval. Okay, great. Now of course we also need some padding here in this footer, right? And also we want to format this text here, this paragraph. So let's do these 2 things, and then we will worry about these icons here. So we want a padding for this footer, not quite as big as we had with the other sections. So let's say 60 pixels, for instance, and we will then see if it looks great. And now let's just format the paragraph inside of the footer to have the same color as the links, which is 888, and we can also center the text align center, and we can maybe even decrease the font size a little bit, because it's not necessary that it's as big as the main text on the website. Alright. Yeah, probably 60 pixels was still a little too much. We will decrease this to 50 pixels or 40, and also some distance between this paragraph and these navigations. So the best way of doing that is to add a margin to the top of the paragraph. So margin top, 30 pixels, let's say, and here we change that to 50. So of course this looks a little empty here right now, because you could actually add some more text here, or I don't know, something else. In this case, we will not worry about this, because it's just a footer to show you what we can do and how all of this works. So now let's worry about these icons, and what I want to do here is to, of course, make those a little bit bigger, but in the hover effect we will do something cool, which is in each of these icons we will change the color of the icon to the color of the corresponding social network. And I have a great site where we can see all these colors. So the Facebook we will change to this color, the Twitter button we will change to this color, the Google Plus, and the Instagram. So we have those colors here, and then we will just have to copy them. So let's do that. Back in the CSS, actually put this right here. So the show links li, right, link, and social links the visited state. Let's make them a little bit bigger. Font size, say 180%. And we will then target each of the specific icons. We will use these classes here. So it's just Ion Social and then the name of each of the social networks. We will then, the best way of doing this is to actually put the hover effect right on each of these classes. So let's see which color value we're going to use. So this is for Facebook, and that should work. So I'll just copy this. So Twitter, Google Plus, and Instagram. So this is for Twitter. For Google Plus, and then the last one is for Instagram. And let's check this out. Well, these are way too big, of course, but the color effect works actually, and this is pretty great. Yeah, this looks really cool, right? So now what we have to do is to also add that transition that we want, and we're going to do that back here. So we have to do it this way. So Twitter, Google Plus, and Instagram. And then we just say that we want a transition for the color of 0.2 seconds. Let's check this out. And here we go. Here we have our effect. So actually I think that the entire text here is a little too big. So I will just reduce all the text, because as I said, I don't want to make all of this stand out too much, and these links are a little too big now. This doesn't look natural, I think. So I will reduce the text for all elements in the footer element. And so I can say that I want the font size to be 80% here, for instance, and then everything will get affected inside of this element. And let me just delete this from here. And maybe here we can change it to 170. And so let's see. These are still a little bit too big, but the rest looks good. Actually, the padding here, or the margin here, is too big as well. So let's change that, and let's also make this icons a little bit smaller. So maybe 20 pixels is enough here, and then 160. And now we're almost at the end of this. So yeah, I think this was our last change, because this looks great now. So let's revisit our whole web page to see what we got here. So this is very cool. We designed all those sections, and I think you can really be proud of yourself for what you achieved with this. Don't you think so? So we built all of this with our own hands, and I think this is really powerful, and this is really great stuff. In the next lecture, we will start to make this website be responsive, because as you see now, well, when we reduce this starts looking a little bit weird, right? So that is what we're gonna be working on in the next lecture. So you can take a break and revisit everything we've done here, or you can come with me to the next lecture.